Welcome you to Financial Planning for Women. I'm Jean Lown, and my student assistant is Erica Abbott, and she's in the Family Finance program and very accomplished. So Erica's going to get started with our program today, and then I'm going to be taking over.
Okay. So welcome to Financial Planning for Women. You guys all got the handouts, right? If you didn't, you can get one now. Today we're going to be discussing how to make sure you don't run out of money in retirement. And we're mostly going to be talking about doing it yourself, correct? So don't go to a financial planner unless it's me. No, just kidding. All right. So the dilemmas, you want to make sure that you don't outlive your assets. And we're also going to be discussing how to turn a lump sum of money into a monthly stream of income. And also we're going to discuss some uncertainties, like how long you're going to live, how long your spouse is going to live, how long you're going to stay married. I'm joking. And will your spouse need long-term care? That can be very expensive, and it is an important discussion, something to think about when you're looking at retirement. The LongLongevity Curse. Dr. Lown made us do a quiz to see how long we were going to live. I think we had one girl in our class that said she was going to live to 99 was the estimate. So it is, as technology gets better, health care gets better, you're going to be living longer and longer. So that's something to think about as in terms of how much to save for retirement and how much to spend when you are in retirement. On average, 65-year-old males will live about another 17 years, and females live another 20 years. And in Utah, actually, I think we're the state that females live the longest. So you're more likely to outlive your spouse. And so you're going to need to plan for that and how much money you're going to need. And we've got some calculators on the handouts, correct? So you can look on those handouts and you can see some places you can go that will predict how long you're going to live, yes. This is national. We, as Utahns in general, right, male and female, live longer than that, and then females live even longer. We're just extremely healthy people, apparently. Yeah, I'm a student. Not enough alcohol and cigarette smoking. Well, actually, we're going to get to that on the next slide. So we also want to point out that individuals tend to underestimate how long they're going to live, so do overestimate that when you're looking at how much you can spend during retirement, and do look at some of those calculators. This is the life expectancy, like you were asking, what is it based on? It's based on your gender, your current age, your weight, height, education, believe it or not, actually plays a role in that. Family medical history, also your personal medical history obviously will play a role in that. And diet, exercise, and general lifestyle. So if you drive recklessly, it might be a little bit lower life expectancy than if you're a more cautious driver. And also when you do these, I want to go home surveys, but they're not these questionnaires. The more questions they ask you, the more accurate they're going to be on how long you're going to live. And, you know, taking into account that you could get hit by a car tomorrow, all that aside. So the more questions you ask, the more accurate you're going to be looking at, and overestimate again. Again, the URLs are on the handout, so if you didn't get one on the way in, get one on the way out. All right, there's the 3 stages of retirement. This one is so big. When you're in your 60s, I know I've been there. No, I'm joking. You're going to be spending a lot more money than in your 70s and 80s. And actually, Michael Stein calls it the go-go stage when you're first into retirement. You might want to travel, see grandchildren, or just get away from grandchildren. And then as you get into your 70s and 80s, you start to slow down. You want to stay home more, and eventually you're just not going anywhere unless, so if you want to see them, then you're going to go see them. They're not going to come to see you. All right, Dr. Lown's going to take over.
Yeah, so the idea with what we were just talking about, the go-go, slow-go, and no-go phases, is that people often spend more when they first retire. You know, you might have heard some rule of thumb that you're going to be spending about 75% of what you spend when you're working. Well, not in the first go-go years. So plan on that. It's not planning on the same amount that you're going to be spending every year, just adjusted for inflation. So one of the factors that comes into play, and this could be a whole program in and of itself, but we are not going to go into detail, it's very, very important to figure out what is the best strategy for claiming Social Security. Now, for single people, it is a fairly straightforward situation. If you've never been married, it's based only on your own work record. For everybody else, if you are coupled or have been coupled, then it can be very complicated. There's a lot of sophisticated strategies to maximize your lifetime Social Security retirement benefits. And you really need to factor in this decision, because part of what we're going to be talking about today is Social Security is the base that you're going to be working off of. You can pay a financial planner to help you with this decision. You can educate yourself. I've got a lot of resources on this. There's a new computer program that was just announced in the latest Kiplinger's Personal Finance magazine that you can do it yourself for $50, or you can get phone assistants to help you with this, and they charge $250. In general, if you're expecting to live a long time, it's probably best to delay taking Social Security. We're not even going to get into concerns about, well, will Social Security be there when Erica's ready to retire? If you're interested in finding out more about this, it's like a little comic book. It takes a short time to go through. It's called the Social Security Fix-It book, and that URL is on your handout. And Social Security is one of those entitlement programs. Nice thing about it, inflation-adjusted, secure, reliable income there. Inflation is one of your biggest enemies. And on average, the U.S. inflation is about 3.1, 3.2% a year. And if you're familiar with the rule of 72, it tells you how long it's going to take your money to double or how long it's going to take prices to double. So if you divide 72 by 3.2, 22.5 years, if we had a steady 3.2% inflation, in 22 years, prices would double. And these would be just kind of ordinary consumer price index, run-of-the-mill prices. So if you retired at 66, prices would double by the time you get to 88. And for a lot of Utahns, they're going to live a whole lot longer than that, particularly those of us that are well-educated and in good shape. If we looked at 4% inflation, prices would double in 18 years. Now, you're probably well aware of healthcare costs and the big issue that they present, and of course, they're rising far faster than inflation. And if we just look at the first decade of this century, healthcare inflation rose 48%, while the overall CPI rose 26%, and that's the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In 2013, healthcare inflation is projected to be a very modest, for healthcare, of 7.5%. So, okay. What I'm going to do now is talk about different ways of making your money last in retirement. And the first one I'm just calling the Adhoc random method. And here you collect Social Security, you withdraw from your nest egg as needed, you hope your money lasts as long as you do, and well, also, what about your spouse partner? The women are usually the ones that are going to outlive their spouse, not only because women live longer on average, but also because women tend to marry older men. So that's kind of the cross your fingers and hope the money lasts. Now, one thing you have to think about here is, and I don't think I've included a slide on this, the recent research that shows that our mental acuity, reasoning ability, analytical abilities peak in our late 50s. So it's kind of a downhill slide from there, and particularly if your longevity tells you you're going to live past about 85, you're probably not going to be in the best position to be handling your retirement portfolio and making sure that your money lasts. The second method I'm calling the bucket method, and someone else has given it that label. Basically, the idea is that you always keep about 3 to 5 years worth of expenses, what you think you're going to need on top of Social Security to pay your housing expenses, your food, your transportation, all the basics. You keep that in a very safe, secure place, such as a savings account. Well, y'all know what savings accounts are paying now, less than 1%. Money market funds, we don't even want to go there. Those are paying virtually zero because of today's ultra low interest rates. And the idea is that you have your nest egg invested, and as you spend a year's worth of expenses from that bucket, you then liquidate a year's worth of expenses from your assets, put it into your bucket. And the idea of having 3 to 5 years worth of expenses in your safe, secure bucket is we get another year like 2008 through 2009, when your portfolio loses half its value. You don't want to be selling stocks at bargain basement prices. So then in a time when your investments are losing money, you don't liquidate. You hope that if you hold on for a year or maybe 2, prices have rebounded, and then you can liquidate 1 or 2 years worth of expenses and refill your bucket. So that's the 3 to 5 year timeline of keeping that much money safe and secure in your bucket. At the same time, you have to continue to manage your investments for growth, endure unpredictable volatility, not to add insult to injury, but if you remember back to the beginning of this century, the beginning of the past decade, when we had the tech stock bubble burst and how much money people lost in their retirement investments. Now, 2 major asset crashes within 1 decade. Is that the future? I don't know. No one has a crystal ball, but everything I've been reading suggests that investment markets are going to be a lot more volatile in the future than they have been in our recent memory in the past century, okay? So, again, do you have the knowledge, aptitude, and capability? Okay, the 4% rule. This is kind of the elephant in the room. This has been kind of the gospel since the early 80s, when a couple of researchers did this analysis, and it has been repeated with various variations ad infinitum in the financial planning literature. And the idea is that you can, if you have a 30-year time horizon for your investments, and you're at least maybe 50% invested in stocks, that you should be able to withdraw 4% a year. And then, so 4% in the first year, then adjust that for inflation. This research has all been based upon actual investment classes and investment returns, actual past history. But again, is the past projected into the future? Will the future be like the past? And most of the research that I'm reading suggests no, that the past 30 years or so, the time when most of us have been investing and having our investments grow, that the future is not going to be quite as rosy as that. That the past 30 years have been, you know, despite the recent crashes, have been relatively rosy, and that investment growth won't be centered in the United States. It will be centered overseas, and so people are going to have to take more risk and have more international investments, and that you can't expect that 4% rule is going to be sufficient. One problem. The future is not likely to be as rosy as the past. The major problem here is volatility. Even though stocks, on average, historically have returned about 10%, there's almost never a year when you get 9, 10, or 11% return. You get a 40% increase, you get a 45% drop. You get a 30% increase, you get a 20% drop. Very, very volatile. So if you think about, you know, year after year having to liquidate your investments, you know, think about the whiplash of the 2008 to 2009 crash. Think about the people that retired right before that in 2007 at the top of the market. The market peaked in, it was either September or October, in the fall of 2007. You know, you're sitting on $1 million. 2 years later, you're sitting on $500,000. ooh, you know. Although numerous studies have said, based upon past returns, this is a good strategy, things are really just far more volatile, and the future is not likely to be like the past. At the same time, you know, you've got to keep managing that investment nest egg, and you can hire someone to do it and pay them to do it and trust them to do it, or you can do it yourself. And most Americans, I took out the slide that's about financial illiteracy. You know, Americans are just incredibly financially illiterate. And this has been documented with study after study after study. In fact, one recent study by the SEC, by FINRA, by numerous researchers. Americans don't know anything about basic money management and investing. This slide I grabbed from the Wall Street Journal, gave them credit down in the corner there, and it says, longer horizons, smaller withdrawals. Okay, so the longer you're going to live, the less you can withdraw each year. So if you look up in the upper left-hand corner there, 10 years of spending, $117,000. This is assuming that you start out with $1 million. And we start with $1 million because it's such a nice round number, and it's easy to do the math. This is how much you could spend each year if you earned a constant 3% above inflation annually. Well, that would be nice if we could guarantee that, but highly unlikely getting a constant 3% above inflation. That means you're talking about 6% rate of return. Again, the only way to get a 6% rate of return is to have a very diversified portfolio with a lot of it in stocks, and stocks are extremely volatile. So if you're going to spend it all away in 10 years, you could spend $117,000 a year. If you had 35 years, for a lot of people, that could be their realistic time horizon. Then you only get to spend $46,000. Now, if you only have $500,000, you can, you know, just cut all those numbers in half. But it shows the impact of the longer time horizon from 10 years to 35 years. And again, it's a very positive, rosy assumption. Generally, people get fairly conservative as they get into retirement, and so they want to keep things in nice, safe, secured treasury securities that are losing money to inflation every minute, every month, every year. So a little bit more about the problems with the 4% rule. Based upon period of very high returns, based mainly on domestic investment returns, but the future growth is going to be international. The black swan events, the crashes of the tech stock bubble, the whole, hey, today is September 12th. What happened 4 years ago? Yes, Chris, you get the Smart Money magazine. Lehman Brothers crashed, filed for bankruptcy, and not only the whole U.S. financial markets, the whole world's economy was teetering on the brink of total catastrophe. So here's another slide, thanks to the Wall Street Journal and illustrator C.J. Burton. These illustrates the power of investment assumptions. Say again, you've got $1 million, and again, nice even number to work with. You have 30 years of your investment time horizon, and most of the research on the 4% rule uses a 30-year time horizon. A constant annual after-inflation investment return, here's how varying that return changes the amount you could invest. So in other words, we know that investment returns don't come nice and smoothly over the years. They are very volatile. Okay, so if your after-inflation return is 5%, woo, pretty optimistic. You could spend $65,000 a year. If you're after inflation, and again, we're using, that average inflation of 3%, is, say, a more realistic 2%, 1%. And, if you're pretty conservatively invested, okay, give this example of TIAA. Probably a lot of you have money in TIAA. This is the guaranteed portion of the university's retirement plan. TIAA pays 3% a year. And then the trustees decide how much above that. And right now, it's just a little bit more than 1% above that. So right now, TIAA is growing at 4% a year. Inflation's 3% a year. So you're basically 1% ahead of inflation. Now, on those years when we go below and have losses, this is the problem with the 4% rule, is just this tremendous volatility. Of course, you can combine that with the bucket method of having, at least 3 years worth of future expenses set aside, nice, safe, secure. Okay, so you can combine these. So again, I mentioned that mental acuity peaks at about age 55 to 60 or so. Americans are woefully ignorant of the most basic financial literacy principles. This is my estimate that even if you are interested and have ability, by age 80, your interest in managing your finances and your abilities are probably in pretty serious decline. Unfortunately, we've got lots of research that women tend to defer to their husbands and let their husbands, be the ones who manage all this. The husband dies first. And then, so really your only option is paying for financial management, paying a financial planner. And you hope this is someone who's considerably younger than you are and also someone that you can trust implicitly. This is the essence of what I'm suggesting is the most prudent approach. And it's called create your own or do-it-yourself pension. You want nice, safe, secure, regular income to cover your basic needs. So you figure out, how much do I need to really live on? And so with Social Security, plus, here's the key, purchasing an immediate annuity. Now, in the old days, I think it was before 1996, when you retired, the only option was to turn that into a lifetime annuity. But now you've got lots of other choices out there. So the essence is annuitize a portion of your retirement assets to assure a regular stream of income. Keep the remainder of your nest egg, assuming there is some remaining, we hope, moderately aggressively invested to keep ahead of inflation. But the idea is that every month, your Social Security plus your immediate annuity is going to cover your basic expenses. Then as you need to replace the roof, replace the vehicle, go on the round-the-world cruise, whatever, you tap into your nest egg. So that immediate annuity is your pension, your retirement paycheck. It's a contract with a life insurance company. You purchase this with part of your nest egg, and it pays you monthly income for life. That's your paycheck. And you won't run out of money. So some real basics on immediate annuities. Unfortunately, we use the same word annuity to refer to immediate annuities, which is what I'm talking about, immediate or lifetime annuity. And we use the same word for deferred annuities, which is a way to invest and contribute gradually while you're working to build your nest egg. So TIAA is an annuity. If you have money contributed to TIAA every month, you are buying a deferred annuity. Right? That's the accumulation phase. We're not talking about that today. We're assuming you're already there or almost there. So you can, with the immediate annuity, it provides monthly income for life, and you can do it, particularly if you're single, do it for your own life. You can do it for joint and survivor if you have a spouse or partner. Now, some people like to say, well, I'm single, but what happens if I get hit by a bus this afternoon after I sign that contract or next week? I want to make sure that my kids get at least some money out of this. So you can get it for guaranteed period like 10 or 15 or 20 years. Of course, the single life is going to give you the largest amount per month. We've had a previous program on annuities, and so you can go to the Financial Planning for Women website and read through in detail about immediate annuities and deferred as well. As you're comparison shopping, you want to look for low expenses and no sales commission. So Vanguard, Fidelity, TIAA-CREF are the three main places to compare. Although there's websites that can help you, you really want to shop beyond that, but that's probably some of your best bets are going to be here. Now, if you buy from a salesperson as opposed to skipping the salesperson, if you buy from a salesperson, they're going to earn a commission, and they may be selling you a product that's going to give them the best commission rather than what's going to be the best deal for you. You want to make sure that the insurance company is highly rated. We won't go into details about how reliable the rating systems are these days. You don't want to buy more from one company than the state insurance guarantee. Every state has a guarantee pool so that if you buy an annuity and that insurance company goes belly up, the state insurance pool will cover you, all right? We're not going to go into detail there, but there is that backup there. But you don't want to give a company $500,000 when your state insurance pool is only going to cover you for $100,000 or $200,000, okay? So what you do, if you've got that much money and want to buy that big an annuity, you buy from different insurance companies so that you spread your risk there. A lot of people, most Americans, probably not so much long-term employees here at the university, are in the situation where they don't have enough money, so their options are to work longer, to scale back, checking the time here, okay. Scale back consumption, good for you, good for the planet. One way to start thinking about this is to practice. Start living now on 75% of what you had been living on, if that's the target for you. You can increase your savings as long as you're still working. Review your asset allocation. If you're all in TIAA, you're not getting much growth potential. So you might want to add some zing to your portfolio in the terms of domestic and international stocks. Focus on paying off your consumer debt in particular, and that should be a much higher priority than paying off your mortgage. And another option is to use the equity in your home via a reverse mortgage during retirement. That's the whirlwind tour. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to run through a couple just basic slides, and then we're going to watch the video. Okay, so there's related presentations on the Financial Planning for Women website. You've got a guidebook to help life savers prepare for retirement, more resources there on your handout. USU employees have access to individual retirement planning. The Utah Retirement System, TIAA-CREF, Fidelity reps come to campus every month. You can sign up through the HR website. Upcoming, okay, Financial Planning for Women is co-sponsoring with USU HR and TIAA-CREF a workshop on October 5th, and it's from noon to 2 o'clock in the Alumni Center. And if you didn't read the HR newsletter that came via email this week, go back to your email box, resurrect that email with the newsletter, and that gives you the link to register. And you need to register because they're providing lunch. Tell your friends and colleagues who are female USU employees. October 1st to 7th is the Financial Planning Association's 11th Financial Planning Week, and typically they offer free phone consultation with a financial planner. Watch the Financial Planning for Women blog for updates on that. Starting in October, we are moving to the 11:30 time slot because Wednesday, 11:30 to 12:45 is the common hour with no classes. So theoretically, nobody's teaching, nobody's going to class. So that's why we are switching the noontime session from 12:30 to 11:30. So our topic is psychology and money, and let me tell you, we've got an exciting, fun program for you. And then we are moving to the first Monday in November. Oh, sorry, Wednesday. Oh my gosh, Wednesday. Where did I get Monday from? First Wednesday. Sorry, it's November 7th. Anyway, that's the correct date because I'll be at a conference. So now we're going to watch this video.